Hello. Now we'll be seeing a concept called as partial method, which is again a feature which was launched in C# 3.2. This feature seems very not that much useful, but then I'll tell you one real-time usage of this feature. So what partial method means? Partial method does not mean partially you write method and partially I write the method. It means declaration goes in some method and it means definition goes in some other method. For example, if I write a partial class, suppose partial class called as maybe let's say maths, not maths, maybe let's say partial class called as sample. And if at all, suppose I write a constructor here. And inside the constructor, suppose I want to call a method which I'm just going to go and declare only. So declaration of the method, which let's say is partial. So I'll define here partial void. Partial keyword resides with the method now. Partial void. And I'm going to say hi. And here I'll have a parameter, maybe let's say message. And I'm just going to go and give a call to say hi method and pass on some parameter which is hard coded right now. Maybe let's say test. So what happens is I am giving call to say hi method in the constructor, but the method is yet to be defined. So which may be the case. Will code work now? It should not work because constructor gets called, constructor will give a call to say hi, which is only declared and it is yet to be defined. But who's going to go and define that? Maybe in the team of project, maybe one developer is bound to define maybe a logic for say hi method. But then he is yet to write down, he is yet to complete that code. Then obviously, will my code go for toss then since the person has not authored the method yet? So it's declared partially by somebody and now I want to define it. So if I put a breakpoint here, I'll put breakpoint at 3 lines. Call, rather start with the constructor, call to the method and end of the constructor. And suppose somewhere here, if I define object of sample now, sample equal to new sample. What will happen now if I give a call? I'm going to put a breakpoint now, run this and let's run step by step. Let's step over or step in. I'm calling constructor. Just have a look at the constructor, guys. Right now, there were 3 breakpoints added some time back, but one breakpoint automatically removed. I did not remove it. F11. Now, runtime knows say hi is a partial method and this method is not defined yet. So here, runtime simply skips the call and then continues with the rest of the code. It continues, it prints nothing on the screen because the code is not there right now. And this is the beauty of this partial method. Now what am I going to do is I'm going to go and create one more partial class over here with the same name. Here we go. And then inside this method, I'm just going to go and print on the console. Maybe let's say hi and whatever gets here. Maybe hi test is what you should print. Run this again. You'll find out again step in. Now we have second breakpoint alive because the method is already defined now. Goes a call, console write line comes out and completes the constructor then. So if you notice, we have got high test printed on the console. And this is where the importance of partial method comes up now. Partial method, it's declared in one class, one partial class, and defined in another partial class that you see. Keep it in mind, partial methods can only reside in partial classes. Second important point here, that is if partial methods exist, look at the specifier for the partial method. Default partial methods are always going to be void. Can I change that? Absolutely no. They are going to be called only within the premises of the class only. And second and most vital limitation here, partial method just cannot return anything. They only return void type here. Now that actually brings us to lot of limitation, which means is this really worth? Is this really useful? Yes. And where I'll tell you. Normally, you must have seen some wizards in case of Visual Studio, which means when the code generation happens automatically. So whether it's a LINQ to SQL, whether it is entity framework, whether it is some proxy classes which are written for web services, every time a code is automatically authored by the wizard, then you must have noticed since 2005, Microsoft always gives you partial classes. Imagine this class that you see is written by a wizard. This is not, imagine this class which is selected is not written by me, it's written by some wizard. And then wizard has given me some property. Imagine this class is employee and we have got name as a property inside it. And then I would like to validate, maybe let's say, age of the employee. Obviously, the wizard which generates the source code may not know what validation to put up. And the problem then is, when we don't know what validation to put up, then how do I do the validation for the automatically generated employee class? That to property called as age. Then comes a solution. Normally, what Microsoft does is, whenever they generate anything from the wizard, they actually already have some partial method written for you, which does all the validation. But remember this, it's only declared method along with certain parameters like the properties value, properties name. But then it is your job to define another partial class with the same name by yourself and write down the method implementation by yourself. So imagine this class is written by the wizard and this class that you see is authored by you. So you don't whenever you generate the code using wizard, when you have to extend that code further, write down some basic validations, then you can very well go for this concept of partial methods. Why? Because normally you don't end up changing the code which is automatically written by the wizard, because more chances you have that your code may get wiped if at all you regenerate the code. And that's the reason we have this partial class concept. And that's the reason we have this partial method as a concept. Hopefully you have understood the importance of partial methods. Thank you.